So we're going to go ahead and just practice solving equations or solving inequalities. First thing I'm always going to do is draw my line down the middle. Second thing, I want to label my sides x's and everything else. So the thing that's in the wrong place, because remember, if my x's are supposed to be on the left side, then this plus 4 shouldn't be there. So I'm going to move that, and I'm going to move that by minusing 4 from both sides, doing the opposite. So the plus 4 minus 4 are going to cancel. I'm left with 3x is less than or equal to 6. And then to get x completely by itself, I need to get rid of the 3 that is multiplied. So I'm going to do the opposite of that, which is to divide. So I'm left with x is less than or equal to 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I'm going to do my number line. The middle number is 2. The number below that is 1. The number above that is 3. Remember, my circle is going to be solid because this is equal to. And because it's a less than and it's pointing to the left, I want to draw my line to the left to show that's where my solutions are. So I have negative 2x is greater than 4x minus 18. So the first thing I'm going to do, as always, is draw my line. And then I'm going to label my sides. So I want x's on one side, everything else on the other. So that tells me that if my x's should be over here, this 4x is in the wrong place. So to get rid of this 4x, I'm going to minus 4x from both sides. Negative 2x minus 4x is negative 6x. Over here, the 4x minus 4x will cancel. So negative 6x is greater than negative 18. All right, so we have negative 7 minus 5y is less than or equal to 23. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my line. And then I'm going to label my sides. So one side is y's, the other side is everything else. So the thing that's out of place is this minus 7 here. To get rid of that minus 7, I'm going to do the opposite of that, which is to add 7 to both sides. So negative 5y is less than or equal to 30. My very final step, I have to get rid of this negative 5 that's in front of y, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. So I end up with y on one side and negative 6 on the other. But because this 5 in the denominator was negative, that's where my red flag comes in. So that tells me I've got to switch the direction of my inequality sign, so it will be a greater than or equal to. So I'm going to label my graph. So I have negative 6. Negative 7 is going to be on the left and negative 5 is going to be on the right. Because it was an equal to, it wasn't just less than, it was greater than, it was greater than or equal to. That tells me my circle is going to be solid. And if my sign is greater than, it's my y is on the left and the graph is pointing to the right. All right, so we have 6 is less than 4y plus 2. So I'm going to solve this. I'm going to draw my line down the middle. Okay, my y's are already on the right, so I'm going to go ahead and label the right side there as my y's. And everything else is going to go on the left this time. So to get y by itself, I need to get rid of this 2. So I'm going to minus 2 from both sides. 6 minus 2 is 4. And so I get 4 is less than 4y. And then my final step is to divide both sides by 4. Well, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So I'm left with 1 is less than y. Now, we really, really, really want y to be on the left side. So we're allowed to move y to the left side and 1 to the right side. But remember, the alligator always eats the bigger number. So right now, the alligator is trying to eat the y. So when I switch the sides, I have to switch the direction of my sign too. So it's now y is greater than 1. So on my number line, I'm going to have 0, 1, and 2. My circle is going to be open because it was just greater than. And since my inequality sign is pointing to the right, I know that my line is going to point to the right as well. And lastly, the last one I'm going to do with you, this one's going to have some distributive property in it. So the very first thing we're going to do is draw our line down the middle. And then we're going to label our sides. So we want x's on one side, everything else on the other. It doesn't matter which side we label as x's and which side we label as everything else, because they're both going to have x's. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to distribute. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Greater than or equal to 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 5 is 10. So we decided we wanted to move our x's to the left. So I need to get rid of this minus 6 here. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So negative 2x is greater than or equal to 2x plus 16. Now I need to get rid of this 2x that's over here on the right because it has an x, so it needs to be on the left. So I'm going to minus 2x from both sides. So negative 2x minus 2x is negative 4x. And it's still greater than or equal to 16. So now we need to get x completely alone. And currently that negative 4 and that x are multiplied. So to get rid of something that's multiplied, we're going to divide both sides by negative 4. Remember, when we divide by a negative, that is where our red flag comes into play. So that tells us that our next step is going to be a little bit different. So a negative 4 over negative 4, those still are going to cancel, and I get x. 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. But because I had this red flag here, because this number was negative, I have to flip the direction of my inequality sign. So it'll be x is less than or equal to negative 4. On my number line, I'll have negative 4 in the middle, negative 5 on the left, negative 3 on the right. The equal to tells me that my circle is solid. And this less than sign tells me that my line is pointing to the left.